What's up, come up family? My name is Mark, and this is Language Come Up, a place where I come up and you do too. Today I've got my friend with me, John, and it is time to come up. How are you doing, John?
I'm good. Sorry, I was making sure I was on the YouTube link was muted there. I'm good, man. How are you? How are you?
Oh yeah, I'm pretty cool. Things are kind of calm up here in Mexico, and we've actually been having a little bit of rain, but things are cool. Things are cool, man.
Oh yeah, I've got in the last 7 days, I've got 14 inches of snow.
Really? Oh
Mm-hmm.
my gosh, that's.
Yep.
Is it usually like that in Virginia?
It's well, yeah, like even though I'm not like super far, I mean I'm in Virginia, but it's like still technically considered the South, but it's like it's from where I live, literally at the base of a mountain. And also the town that I live in is like it's like the highest town elevation wise in Virginia.
Are you serious?
Yeah, and it's like so it's just between the elevation and then being right on the mountains. Also, yes, this is live for whoever's asking.
Yeah, it is.
But yeah, it's the weather can be kind of bad here. And it's they always joke like you can have all four seasons in one day. Like last week when it snowed, the day before we got 7 inches of snow because it snowed basically last week. It snowed 7 inches, and then last night it snowed 7 inches.
Mm-hmm.
But the day before last time, it was 70 degrees. I was wearing a t-shirt and shorts, and then you wake up the next morning and you're buried under snow.
Oh wow! We
Yeah.
have that same expression in Ohio. You can have the four seasons in a day, and it's kind of true. But it's so funny just being in a place where the weather is almost always perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think if I go back to Ohio during this time or Russia, I don't know if I could do it. I'd have to go during the summer because I've lost my Ohio superpowers.
And I love the cold. Like I would rather it be cold. And the problem is I would rather like that's why I always joke about wanting to move to. I mean, I'd move to Greenland. I like just I love the cold, but I want to also be able to prepare for it. That's the problem where I'm at now. I don't mind the
Uh,
cold, but I want to be able to prepare for it.
you've already got some love happening from the language.
Oh, new video in.
Uh,
Soon enough, soon enough. Which me and Mark will talk about it, but I've just kind of been on a little bit of a sabbatical, trying to figure out myself and what I wanted to do and stuff like that. So,
mm-hmm. And I was telling you today, I had a brutal. It wasn't bad. It wasn't like an ideal class, but I woke up and I had some of my italki classes, the English ones, where I'm a teacher, and I had a really great class with a really nice student. And for some reason, I just thought, I think today is not going to go well in my Russian class. And I really never think like that. It was just like a black cloud that came over me all of a sudden. I'm like, huh. And then I just kind of forgot about it. Then I started with the class and I was like, oh shoot, I remember that things aren't going so well today, but it
yeah, no, I
happens.
mean, I think it's important to know like you can have good days and you can have bad days. Like, um, and that's part of the reason I don't upload as much anymore is because like the idea that I feel like there's added pressure when you do that. And then, so if I have a bad day, then I'm like, crap, now I'm a day behind. And these people are expecting, an update or whatever. But then you update and people are like, you're advancing slow. It's just this circle of whatever. And then I'm like, but no, having bad days is part of it. Like, it's okay.
Exactly.
There's days when you wake up and it's not that you have a bad day in English, but how many times do you get tongue tied in your own like it happens? It's okay.
Yep. Yep.
And so it's just part of it. And I can't imagine during a class like I've not really had anything. I mean, I've had it happen kind of like I've went on Omegle recently to try and speak some stuff, and like I know that I'm okay, but then just in the heat of the moment, it's just kind of like, oh my god, like it's just like there's this added pressure.
Of course. And just sometimes it's just like I find one of the hardest parts of foreign language speaking is just kind of like that off the top of the head thing. Because if you kind of settle down and get in a conversation, you can kind of get relaxed. But I feel that sometimes it's hard just to like connect exactly what you want to say so that's understood always, in the moment, because it's just like, your thoughts come to you really quick and you just like spit something out.
Mhm.
And sometimes you're like, oh, wait, back up. Let me
Yeah.
take another go at that. Yeah,
Yep.
I'm only doing Russian and Spanish. These are basically my languages, and I'm going to be with these languages for some time. Of course, I do have some languages that I do want to study in the future. Like some on my list are Mandarin. One that's kind of close to my heart due to some history is Farsi. But for the foreseeable future, these are going to be my two languages, and my Spanish and Russian are very different places. I did have let's say a C1, but now since I've kind of haven't been speaking as much or haven't been doing so much or having much contact with Spanish, I see how it's like failing me in some aspects. So I'm going to try to concentrate on that, but really while taking my Russian up. But it's really such a process and in a journey. So yeah.
Do it, man. You gotta stick to it. Keep on working at it. Says
For
me.
sure. It's like you really have to think of language learning in terms of years, because we always think that, we set these goals when we start languages, and it's like, oh yeah, in 1 year I want to be like this, in a year and a half I want to be like that. And then you get to that point and you're like, oh, that was naive of me.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's, well, that's the thing too. It's all relative to what you want. Like, that's the other thing with YouTube is like, I think so many people watch people talk about languages, but they don't understand their own personal journey.
Mhm.
Like, because some people, it's not that they don't want to do certain things, but it's just not important to them, right? Like, I know that I've seen people on Twitter argue over and over about, well, if you can't, like, for example, if you're learning like Japanese or Chinese or anything with a script, they're like, well, if you can't read it, then you can't truly say you're fluent. But like, what if that's not your goal? Like, what if, for example, you want to learn what's something with a script? We'll say Greek, right? So not a script, but something different than just the alphabet we're used to, right? Or Russian, whatever the case may be. So like, let's say you're wanting to learn Greek, but it's simply because when you go down to the local grocery store that's ran by a Greek family, you want to just be able to say a couple things to them. That doesn't mean that you're not, whatever. Like, if you just want to be a conversational level, that's why the F word is so bad, right? The fluent word, because like everybody's goal is different. If your goal is to just say a couple of phrases to somebody, like, it doesn't mean that you're like a sham of a guy or whatever. It's just that's what your goal is. Like, who cares? Like, everybody's so, and honestly, it goes past languages. Like, everybody's so concerned with what everybody else is doing, and it gets so judgmental. It's so wild. Like, it's so crazy to me. Like, just let people have fun, man. Like, it might not be what you want, but like, it's just what it is. Like, for example, if you went to Subway, right? And you were like, man, I'm going to get this oven roasted chicken sub, right? This oven roasted chicken sub is the best thing going. It's only, oh my God, it's the only sub I get, right? And then the person in front of you orders a tuna melt. Imagine going in there and freaking the F out on this person because they want a tuna melt. Although the tuna melt to them is the oven roasted chicken to you. It's the same thing. Like,
you had a really good tweet a couple weeks ago or a month ago. What was it about? It was something kind of this nature of how we all have different goals, and basically, that was the essence of it. You said it much nicer than that.
I mean, that's the thing. If you want to learn 20 languages at an A1 level, what's stopping you? Go ahead.
Right.
Like, people are going to be negative about it, but people are going to be negative about anything. And it's not, I'm not saying, also to be fair, I'm not saying that everybody's negative. I'm just saying, like, if that's your drawback, if that's your holdup, like, oh man, I know this person talks trash about this person, or this guy does this, or man, I don't know, what would my idol think, or whatever the case may be. Like, who cares? Just, you have to have fun for yourself, man. That's what
This is a really good
hobby.
point. This is a really good point, and I actually wanted to make a short about this, because I'm on my short game right now. But basically, I had to interview with a guy. He's a Dutch guy, and he has a successful Russian, basically, YouTube channel where he speaks to the Russian audience, and he speaks Russian quite well. And one of the ways that that he got to advanced level is basically by using bilingual text, or like books with English and Russian, right? And he said that this really helped him. And I go, oh, that's a good idea. I think I could try that. That's cool. But then I saw, one of my kind of language heroes, and he's like, oh, this kind of way is boring. I wouldn't like it, And I felt like for a second, I'm like, oh, maybe it's not that good. Then I'm like, wait a second, I respect him as a language learner and a language thinker, but I'm like, wait, I gotta try this first because, he does his thing, I do mine. But sometimes my point is we can get kind of down by like who people that we look up to say, but we have to really think for ourselves, try things for ourselves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, absolutely. That's the thing. Like right now, currently what I'm doing is kind of like a hybrid of the idea of immersion, but also with very concentrated study. And I know that to a lot of people that watch my channel, that would probably be like, oh my God, no, you just have to watch television for 24 hours a day. But like, I've advanced so much faster doing what I'm currently doing, studying, right? Concentrated studying effort, getting the vocabulary in my head and all this stuff, then watching stuff and allowing it to start kicking in. And it's worked good. And it's just people learn differently. And it's not even that they learn differently as much as just like, it's like the same idea, but just slightly tweaking it is different for everybody. Like you got to find that like right, you open up a game and you're just like, oh my gosh, I gotta tweak these settings to my exact, enjoyment. It's kind of, that's with language learning. Like there's like a way that works. There's plenty of ways that works, right? Like you can't say that people who don't immerse can't learn, because it's happened since the dawn of time. Like the first person that ever learned a foreign language didn't watch TV all the time. But then also there's plenty of people who have spent 8 to 10 hours a day watching TV. As a matter of fact, the guy that Matt just interviewed, Ken Cannon, like he learned Japanese and it's literally by watching television. Like he didn't make flashcards or any of that stuff. So the fact is both ways work. Is there one that's more efficient than the other? I'm sure there is. I'm sure there's tons of studies, but both ways work. And whichever way makes you happy. Because the thing is, if you do the thing that's going to make it happen faster, but you hate it, it's not going to happen. But if you do the thing that takes longer, but you love it, you're good.
Absolutely. And one of my kind of
I'm
on
of
language learning.
I'm on one today.
No,
I haven't made a video.
This was an epic
3.5 months, so I've just got like so much that's on me.
I don't want to call it a rant because there was still such good information, but maybe it was a rant, but a rant filled with gems, man. That was awesome. And I agree. I have a language learning philosophy, and basically one of like the key principles is just, whatever gets you to the next day is really the best thing for you.
Whatever keeps you going, man.
It's like
whatever.
Like I would love to use Anki, but for me, it's just like it's hard for me to do. I don't deny it being effective or anything like that, but it's just hard for me to get it going, keep it going.
Yeah.
But for me,
I hate sentence mining, dude. I hate it. Like I've tried and I just can't. Like the thing I'm doing currently is the online program that I'm using. I'm actually taking flashcards that they made. So it's a pre-made deck, but it's all sentences and everything in that. Like each sentence they introduce, it'll be one new thing, but it's also taught to you. But I don't have to take the time to make the deck, but it's still like it's perfect the way that I got it set up.
Right.
And it is a pre-made deck, but it's a sentence.
One reason I couldn't
audio and all that stuff.
Oh, it's pre-made. Yeah, for me, it would be hard to get on Anki if it weren't like a pre-made deck. Then I would need to find a good one. And there's some that I found that are okay, but nothing that great. But like I can't envision myself just being like, okay, this time I'm just going to put some things on some sentences. Like that just sounds like a nightmare to me to sit there and do this tedious thing.
Well, I think depending on the language that you're learning too can go a long way. Like for example, learning Japanese. Well, I mean, I would argue it's probably a top 5 like most learned language. I feel like probably Spanish and stuff like that, especially in America, once it's a concentrated thing. Like I feel like those are probably higher, but also I take into account that a lot of those are probably either people that have to, or for work or something like that, versus like if you're talking about straight up learning a language for leisure because it's something you're interested in and not because you feel like you have to, you're moving to the country, whatever. I feel like Japanese has got to be at the top of that. And with that being said, since it is, there's way more resources, way more people making Anki decks and stuff like that. But if you start trying to study, I don't even know, man. If you're trying to study Icelandic, for example, there's not. I mean, there actually is a really good pre-made deck for Icelandic, but
Really?
it's not like there's not like 50 of them, right? It's like
Mm.
one that somebody just took a crap ton of time to make.
Oh, nice. Getting into some of these questions, one of the questions was asked if I was trying to get the C2 this year. And it's not, I'm not trying to get the C2 this year. It's just about getting the Spanish moving in a upward movement, because I feel that I've just been kind of coasting on what I've achieved in the past while I've been focusing in on Russian. But now I want to make a concentrated effort to keep my Spanish going as well. And it doesn't need to be at some crazy fast level. I'm not putting some kind of time frame on anything. You know, let's say that I would like to be one day as good as I can, let's say, right? And we can call that near native, but you know, I give myself flexibility there. If I could achieve that in 10 years, doing like this rhythm that I plan on doing now, then that would be fine, because you know, I've achieved a certain level of Spanish. Where I'm kind of failing at it now or having some problems, there was a time where that didn't happen. I know that I can bring that right back when I just start getting into the content and my language studies again. But right now, of course, I am focusing on Russian, just because it's just been the main thing in my life for so long. And this year, I hope, is the year that I finally go to Russia, and hopefully I can make something happen.
Hopefully some stuff can some clear up. Walter says, I think Japanese is the easiest language in the world. Nihongo kantan desu ka? I don't think so.
Hi, Stacy. I didn't think you'd be here. I for sure thought you would be sleeping. Stacy is the girl who I did my Russian class with today, and she's like, "Oh," I told her about the stream, and she's like, "Oh, I'm gonna try to watch." And I'm like, "Oh, that's nice of you. That'd be nice." But I'm like, "It's really late right now in Russia, so I didn't think that was gonna happen." So nice to see you here.
I should do a shocking people in contest. I should do a video and do one of the, like you did with the Chinese one, where I just go and just drop that one line from Pimsleur that I know. Ya немного понимаю по-русски, and they'd be like, "What?" And they're like, "Sorry, dude, that's it."
You would be like, "Oh my gosh, look at this guy!"
Yeah,
that's what it'd be like on when Moses would do that stuff. They would just be like, "Look at this guy, look at this guy." You know, they'd just be so happy.
Yeah, oh yeah.
What language channels or YouTubers do you watch? Well, I like who do I like? Lamont, Days of French and Swedish. Awesome
Lamont,
videos, well done. You know,
that dude's
awesome editing.
Like that dude has brought like like the Matrix to like language learning. Like his ability to make film is absurd. Like he's so incredibly talented. And I feel like it's for no reason, but he puts so much effort into his videos, and it's just like, dude, it doesn't matter. This guy could talk about, like, I'm trying to look around my room to see if there's anything stupid I could even say. Like, like he could literally make a video about anything, and I'd be like, this is going to be like the greatest video I've ever seen.
Right. And of course, you know, I think there's different reasons to watch language channels. His are nicely in depth, and they've got co-editing. They're really great. I mean, I like Walter because he's out there having fun, spreading his love of language, making people laugh. For me, in the way he's like kind of taken kind of, you know, he was kind of doing the same thing as Lao Shu, and now that he's no longer with us, I feel like he's just kind of carrying on in his spirit, and that with that kind of just content of making people feel good.
He kind of took the idea and I'm not saying revolutionized. I don't know if anybody's Moses did things that just nobody. It's a whole like
he's what we can call a trailblazer. I think about it from time to time, and it blows my mind to think of this new genre of YouTube and videos that Moses started. I mean, without Moses, there's no Walter, there's no Shalma. You know, he literally was doing this thing 6-7 years before anyone even got the idea to hop on that train.
And that's what I like about Walter is Walter.
Like,
he took the idea and made it his own. You know, because the biggest thing with people would complain about with Moses is you couldn't see him. He wore the GoPro on his chest, you know, and then, you know, Shama came along and he does the GoPro like when I've went with him, I'll wear the GoPro on my neck and he'll be in front. That way you see both people, right? And then Walter came along and he's just like, screw it, we're just setting up a production. Here's a camera guy. I'm just going out on the streets, baby. Like, I love that these guys are bringing a new element to it. And it's not that it's not, I wouldn't say it's their idea or it's a collective thing of just how the industry sounds like. I'm not trying to be like that guy, but like the entertainment aspect of it has just evolved. You know, and I think that's I think what Walter doing, and that's what's cool. I love that you may not like Shalma stuff and like Walters, and you may not like Walters and like Shalma's, because even though they're the same concept, they're done so differently. That it's like, it's weird that there's kind of like this multi-avenue style within the same thing, especially such a niche thing like languages. Like,
of course,
it's amazing.
And what I always say about these channels like Moses, like Shalma, like Walter, what I really appreciate about them is that I feel that they are kind of ambassadors for language learning, because their channels have the most reach to get out to the masses and bring more people into this thing that we love, language learning. You know, you have channels like mine or, you know, Lindy's, and we're already talking about just languages and language learning, but we're basically talking to people that already like this stuff, you know? Those guys really bring in just new people to it, and I love that.
Average people, and that's what I think too. I think that they bring people in who may be like, well, maybe it's the same thing I've said about, like, I kind of equate it to Duolingo, right? Like, everybody hates it, but think about how many people started learning a language because of Duolingo. Like, it made the community so much richer.
I mean, that's
it may be the casual mainstream thing, but that's brought in millions of people into language learning, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
That's a very good point. I mean, whatever gets you into it, right?
Yep. Oh, one creator I love, I talk to Mark about him all the time. Like, I'm like a, no pun intended, it's a wrestling term, but I'm like a giant mark for this guy. Not Mark, anyway. But it's a dude named Mike Ben. Like, he does Spanish. He makes Spanish well, he talks about his learning Spanish and stuff, and then he went and filmed a bunch of videos in like a bunch of different Spanish speaking countries. That dude's stuff is, I mean, I don't know what it is about that dude. I'm not even really like learning Spanish, but there's something about that dude. I talk to Mark all the time. I'm like, dude, you should check this guy out, man, because he's so awesome. Like, he's got such a cool channel. Mike,
really, I should really check it out then. I just told you yesterday, I just found out who this Lingualizer guy is, and I'm like crazy surprised because he has like 1 million subscribers on YouTube, and I'm someone that's pretty well tuned into the whole language learning thing, and I'm like, how the hell do I not know about a language guy that has like 1 million subscribers? What the hell? I finally watched 1 or 2 of his videos the other day. They're pretty entertaining.
I mean, it can happen though. It's crazy. Like, I mean, there's just so many people that do good stuff, right? Like, if you're on Spanish, I love Shane. What's his last? Godlyman.
I think that's it.
It makes an incredible YouTube stuff, and
I agree.
You know, it's just I don't know. There's so many good creators. Like, I'm trying to think of anybody specific. I can look at my subscriber list. I'm trying to look at anybody, like, if there would be something maybe that's. There's a channel called AB Chinese. He does a bunch of like reviewing like Mandarin apps and stuff like that, but he's like a native speaker, so he does some really cool stuff. There's another channel called Bianca Learns. She does Mandarin as well. Not that I'm giving any secrets about myself here, but she does a bunch of Mandarin stuff, but she's really cool. She does she kind of does stuff similar to me, where it's like this mixture of study but also immersing. She's going through like the HSK textbooks. I don't remember exactly where she's at, but she's a little bit through. So I watch a pretty decent portion of her videos. Cole Langs. I love Cole.
Yeah, his videos are fun too.
I like what Cole does. He just yeah, and that's exactly it. He does a lot of like he's got a lot of really fun, really just fun stuff, kind of for no reason.
For sure.
There's a dude named Dave Cad, Davcad. He does Finnish.
Oh,
So and he'll review some Finnish stuff, and it's pretty rad.
for sure.
Just because I do have like this weird soft spot for Finnish. Like I would love to learn Finnish at some point.
I mean, for me, it's kind of funny because it was like 2020 when I discovered Matt, and I think it was like the first part of it. Then through him, I discovered some of this Japanese community. Like, I'm not interested in Japanese. I'm not overly interested in Japan. I think it's sure a nice country and all that, but just through him, I was able to discover like Tikio Sam or whatever, and he makes these kind of fun videos. And then through like this whole thing, I'm like discovered Oriental Pearl, who makes these really nice videos too. Like half of them are about language, half of them are about just Japan. She makes really good quality videos.
She makes cool stuff. She's also really positive on the stop letting people get to you. Have fun. Go learn a language. Go speak. Just go have fun.
Right.
I really
She's
like
actually
her attitude about it.
Yeah. I think that there's kind of like this sect where they're trying to achieve perfection, and she's someone that's speaking out against perfection, which I'm very Steve Kaufman-esque in my approach, and he's very kind of anti perfection. So
yeah, well, I mean, because
you're
like you're not even not to sound lame saying sorry, my son my son has a tablet. He's 5, and he'll send me like little emojis all the time, and he's like he'll always be like, answer back, what did you send me? So I always have to just like, I saw my phone light up and it was him, so I was like, hold on, let me send him something. But I mean, it's never going to be perfect. I'm not perfect in English. My English probably sucks. I bet if I took an exam right now, like my English is so limited that like I can't even imagine where it would be. Like they'd be like, "You're a B2 speaker, man. You got a way to go." Like
exactly. Today when I was talking to Stacy here, and she's like, "Oh, I saw some of your channel," and she's like, "I saw this video about where somebody or some people think that you're not a native English speaker," and I'm like, what the, come on,
Yeah.
I mean, how am I not? Like, what standards do you have to believe that I'm not, a native English speaker? I say that if you think that I'm not a native English speaker, you're going to be very disappointed with my other languages. Jesus Christ.
God, my hair is crazy. Yeah, man. It's hard to like, I don't know. Like I don't know. Language is weird, man. Because it's you want perfection in another language when you're not even perfect. You don't even have perfection in what
you really just sit to analyze like the words that you say, the constructions that you use, you would realize, oh, that's wrong. But you use the language. The language is there to use, not
absolutely.
It's not some kind of performance thing. It's to connect with other human beings.
Yep. Absolutely.
All right. Let's go to the questions. What do I think is the biggest open question with regards to language learning? For me, one thing that I'm kind of going through is just like, what amounts of some kind of active study needs to be a part of your language learning? Like what kind of really focused things like on the nuts and the bolts? So that's something that I'm going through right now, especially with my Russian, because I took such a kind of input approach, but like, straying away from the grammar. And now I'm realizing that I need to go through all the stuff that maybe some people would have gone through before. And I'm not saying like, oh, like I wasted that time or anything like that. I just chose to take a route to explore what it held. I kind of learned from that. And now this 2022 is basically taking all of the knowledge that I gathered for these 3 years of studying it and just kind of filling in the holes of what I think needs to be fixed and just going forward. But, I've really enjoyed my time so far with the language.
Yeah. Russian seems cool.
Mm-hmm.
The brief bit I studied it, I was like, Russian's pretty rad.
Right. And I know that you had like a huge list of languages that you studied. You wrote them all down. How many languages ended up being on that list?
I did 10. I did like the top 10 languages I wanted to learn.
No. But it was an old video. You had it on like a yellow notepad.
All the languages that I dabbled in?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I couldn't even tell you. If you name one, there's a high chance that I probably have at least looked something up about it.
Oh, well, yeah. All right. I was just going to pull one out that I'm sure that you didn't. I was going to say Belarusian, you know.
Oh no,
You didn't get
no,
that one.
I've never looked up anything in that. So there you go. There's
Mm-hmm.
one. I
What
will
about
tonight.
Thai?
Yeah, because there's an app that I like called Ling, not to be confused with Link, but there's an
I
app
remember
called
that.
Ling app, and it's made from a Taiwan. It's made from a Thailand company. It's based in Thailand, and so I was like, let me look at Thai, and then like after like the first 40 seconds, I was like, nope, this is a bit much.
Mm. Shoot, it's crazy though because I think my channel in a couple months will come up on its 2-year anniversary. I remember the first time that I did a live stream on your channel. I was so happy and so excited. I still remember that day because I was a fan. I used to watch your live stream. I was like one of the early people that would watch it. I discovered your channel sometime before you started doing those live streams, and for me, I remember, I was on the balcony thinking, oh, I'm going to do this interview, this live thing on this podcast or live stream that I really like, and it's been pretty cool because out of that we've developed a nice friendship, and you're the one that I've talked to more than any other person in the language learning community, and I have contact with people on a fairly regular basis, but I would definitely say you're my closest friend in this.
That's what's cool about the community, though. Like, like if you're into languages, like it puts just a common interest in front of you, right? Like I made a post on Facebook a little while ago, Adriana, that got me that chocolate from Iceland.
That was so awesome. I saw that.
And she sent that to me. She mailed it to me, and it's like that whole thing came about just because both of us love languages. Like that's that's literally how that came about, just because we became friends. And it's like you sometimes talk to these people more than you talk to people that you went to school with or people that you see in your real life. And it's not that you're not friends with them, but like for example, I know that if like a random friend came by and I was like, dude, I learned this new grammar construct that's just, it really changes the game of how I can speak this. They're just like, oh, that's cool. But it's not like somebody who's like done it. And they're like, oh yeah, dude. All right.
Right. And it's funny because when I post something to a language audience versus Facebook, it gets a completely different reaction, because we're in our little safe bubble of language learning fans. And I posted something like, life is too short to only know one language. And on Twitter, that was like a semi-viral tweet, right? And I put that on Facebook, and people are like, I don't care. Who cares? You think you pretentious or something? Because you think you're so good because you speak languages. I understand where they're coming from when they say that, so I don't even take it personally. But it's like we need people like us, basically. That's my point.
for sure. No, I agree completely.
All right, you want to answer that last question? Take a stab at it.
Which hold on. I see Ethan asked what my aims in my current language are.
Yeah.
So basically right now I'm kind of just having fun. I'm studying and I'm using the language a little bit, and like I don't know if I want like a full form fluency, so to speak, where I know I'm studying. I've been studying Mandarin for 3 months, and so, or I guess you could say, 我学汉语学了3个月了. I've studied Mandarin for 3 months. Terrible tones, I'm sure, but like I don't. Like with that, I don't know if my goal is to learn how to read books. Like, although learning a lot of the Hanzi isn't as bad, just because I have such. It's not that I'm great in kanji. I'm in no way, shape, or form, but I have the exposure to the kanji, so that helps. But I mean, my goal right now is just to have fun. Like, I had to get out of this funk of like almost like the circus monkey, like performing for people kind of thing, right? Like, I didn't want to. Like, and that's where I got to, where I was just like, oh, I got to keep these updates. I got to keep doing this. Oh man, I better not talk about this because, people hate that. And I don't, God forbid, I use Duolingo for something or whatever the case may be.
You use Duolingo?
Yeah, and so like I had to just get out of this funk of that, and like so right now, really and truly, I'm just trying to enjoy stuff, mainly to build back a confidence in language learning. Um, oh my god, dude, my son he lost the thing that I sent him, so he is now losing his mind. Let me download this real quick. This is so sorry. Um, he's really mad that he can't see it. All right, let me set my screen
Your
record.
son's so cute. I remember you were telling me that he basically thinks that there's two languages in the world: English and Chinese, right? So there's English, and then the other language is Chinese. Does he still
Yep,
think that?
he does. Yeah, he sure does. He so it's because he watched. I'm paying attention to you. So I just if I can get this to him, I sent him like the thing where you can like draw on the thing, like you can draw on an iPhone, but like
Mhm.
if you don't click keep, it deletes it. And he didn't click keep, so he wants it. But anyway, so
Ladies and gentlemen, this is parenting in 2022. Wow, it's interesting to see this because I'm not a father yet, so it's cool to see how you're doing it through
yeah,
your phone.
but he there we go. Split, flip that around. You just gotta make it a little bit bigger. Boom, 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 boom. And yeah, he has a very like there we go. All right, now I just gotta save it, and I will be done. So I'm sorry, I wasn't trying to do that, but if I can get him to settle down just a bit, he wanted the shape, so and done. Now I just gotta send the message back. And the thing is, when you draw, you can't. It's not like you can just draw the same thing because it's done on your fingers. Okay, now what what was I talking about? I'm sorry.
You're answering Ethan's question.
Oh, with the languages, yeah. I just had to just gain my confidence back and have fun. Like I don't know if I'll stay with Mandarin for a long time. I'm really enjoying it, and what I'll probably do is I will end up continuing to work on Mandarin for probably an hour a day, and then I will start getting back into some other stuff that I really want to get into, but without the pressures of the idea of let me talk about this and stuff. Now, does that mean I won't talk about languages and stuff on my channel? No, I plan on making videos again. I just need to kind of be careful with it. Maybe have an update once a month, once every 3 months, or something like that, versus like trying to do stuff every week or every couple of days, and just get back into having a positive outlook and and that kind of stuff. You know, like I just was so wore down, and it did it to myself. It's not like anybody, you know, you upload 4 times a week, and people are like, "Where's the update, bro? Like we're
That's
used to
true.
that. What's
That's true.
happening?" So I did it to myself, and I just don't want to start anything just yet because I want to make sure that I'm good, like just mentally. I know I talked about mental stuff like on Twitter like a bunch, but you know, man, I just had to get through a bunch of stuff, and so just kind of picking a new language and just kind of hanging out and having fun. And also seeing how fast I progress doing what I want without the pressures of anything. Like Mandarin at this point, sadly to say, is probably the best language I can speak.
Hmm.
So
Well, that's interesting. But how Seabolt got his groove back? That's
yeah, dude.
well, it's great that you're able to find that. I was interested. I wanted to know when was like the first time that you felt that you were interested in languages, or when was like the first spark of the first time that your mind went, huh?
I've always been kind of drawn specifically to Japanese because of my
Hmm.
interest in pro wrestling. And so like I didn't start until like 2009, but I kind of hate saying that because like I feel like that makes people think like, well, my God, you've studied off
I
and
know
on
what you mean.
for
Yeah.
11 years. But like to be fair, I studied for a few months and then it's been very spotty up until realistically about last year when I was it last year? 2 years ago? This was 2020. Anyway, that's when I really got kind of serious about it. So it seems like I've been studying for 10 years, but I studied more by far, probably in the first 3 months of when I started in April of 2020 that I did from 2009 to 2020. So it's not really fair to say.
No,
So
it's
from
not.
there, though, studied a little bit of Japanese. It was hard as crap. I don't think I have to tell anybody that. It was super, super hard. And I didn't know what I was doing. I'd never tried to learn a language. Like I'd briefly taken Spanish in high school, but like nothing that would make me know what I was doing trying to learn a language.
Okay.
And so, dude, he is arguing that is not what I sent him, and I literally screen recorded my phone. And so, from there, it just basically what happened was, and how I would get into stuff is I would do Japanese, and then of course, being in America, hearing Spanish all around, I was like, well, Spanish would be cool to learn because
it's a logical first thought.
Yeah, people here speak it. But again, I still didn't really know what I was doing. And so also I thought, well, this is easier than Japanese, so it'll just be easy. And of course, learning it's kind of like when people are like, learn Esperanto, it's the easiest language. It's still learning a language.
Like sure, of course. Like I really hate the concept of an easy language. People that say something's an easy language, I don't think they really know what they're talking about, because even what you think is like the easiest language, I mean, you're going to have your trials and tribulations with that. This is not a cakewalk. This is acquiring a whole new system of communication.
Yep, absolutely. And I would actually argue that sometimes Esperanto can be a little more difficult. The reason is because from where it's a constructed language, there may be a concept that they don't have words for or that you're aware of. And it's not like you can just go to, I mean, Google Translate exists, but like, it's not going to be as accurate as it is for like Spanish or like a highly spoken language. And so, something new comes out and, like I'm trying to think of something new like that. Like imagine being in the, in the 80s and Nintendo is like, we have a game console. This is called the Nintendo Entertainment System. This is the NES or the Super Nintendo, right? Or when Sony's like, here's the PlayStation, like you have to wait until like a Congress committee says, hey, these are the words we're using for those, because it's a made up, it's a and I love Esperanto. I'm not saying that, but it's just like, so, I mean, things like that, you can't even talk about the PlayStation for 6 months because you don't even know what the words are.
Right.
So that kind of stuff. I don't necessarily think of it, but yeah, it's like, so I was like, oh, let me learn Spanish because it's super, super easy. And of course it's not. And then, yeah. And then you just kind of continue going on. And
where do these things come up from? I mean, I know there's complexity of levels that exist between different languages, and some are more complex. That's understandable, but just the fact of these easy languages, I don't get that.
I think people look at time spent, which is funny that they'll look at time spent for that and mean easy, but not time spent in language, right? Like, for example, they'll say they studied for 10 years, but they've actually only studied 100 hours. So they won't look at time for that. But then when you see it takes 2,200 hours to get a foundation in Japanese or 600 hours into Spanish, and then all of a sudden they're like, oh, Spanish is easier. So it's like, are we looking at time or are we not? And so I think that's just where it comes from. And also, I mean, just logical nature, right? Like, so many Spanish words and English words are similar. So there's a lot less vocabulary that you have to learn. So that automatically makes it a little bit easier. I would argue that Spanish is a little bit more difficult than some other languages just because of the reflexives. And then if you have two reflexives, and then it has to either be this way or attached to the end. And then here's low for no reason. And like,
Yeah, I mean, Spanish, just the thing has like, there's like a lot of things that may seem small, but there's so many of those things that they just end up building up to be like, oh, damn,
Mm-hmm.
They're like the things that you learn in your first kind of year of Spanish. Those are the things that basically will trip you up through for years and years.
Yeah. Yep. And it's all right, man. And then, basically from there, I downloaded Duolingo in 2015. And I started learning Spanish there. And at the time they had like Spanish think they had German, some different stuff like that. And like not much, like there wasn't much there. It was still like infantile at that point. And you know, just seeing other stuff, it made me start saying, well, let me look into this. Well, let me look into that. And then that slowly just progressed. And then
until you found the language learning community? At what point did this happen?
No, because I've been I had been watching Moses since 2000. I don't want to over it. I know I've said this before, but I don't remember it now, and I don't want to say something and people are like, "Well, you said it was a different year. You're lying."
I know when it was for me, 2014, when I moved to Mexico.
I started watching him in 2000. I think the first time I saw him was in 2009.
That's
like when I started learning Japanese, because
What?
when I started talking to my friend Evan about it, he was like, "Oh, have you seen the guy that goes around?" It might have been 2010, somewhere around there. He had already started doing his level up, so you know, you can roughly figure out math on that. Like it was around not the beginning of those per se, but like he had started. So if he hadn't started by 2009, then you know it's not 2009. It's at least 2010 or 2011. But when I'd started learning Japanese, though, so that's why I'm thinking it was 2009, 2010, sometime around in there. My friend Evan was like, "Oh, have you seen the guy that just goes around speaking to people?" I said, "No." And he showed me a video, and I was just like, "Oh, wow, this is crazy."
So inspiring.
And so that kind of opened me up to, but I still didn't know about the quote unquote language community, right? Like, so I watched him, but I didn't know that. Of course, it was still building at the time. And then,
it was super young at that point.
Yeah. And then from there, so when I started getting into it, I think I started following. I remember following Lindy really early on when I started doing language YouTube. I started following Lindy because from where I'm interested in Asian languages like hers. So that's what she would talk about predominantly in the early, and she still talks about a lot. But so I would see that like her stuff, and then I'm trying to think of some of the earlier. I know I started following Matt really early on in his YouTube career, or whatever you want to call it. Like, not like, I'm not saying like, oh, I was literally the third subscriber on his channel, but like he still had, it was under 10,000. I remember when he hit 10,000 being like, "Dang, dude, this guy's made it." Like, so I followed him pretty early on, and then I had found Woter, but I don't remember when it was, you know, that kind of stuff. So anyway, that was, Lindy's probably the first person I followed. I would say she's probably the first person I followed, like watching videos of, because it was more.
Moses was before Lindy.
Yeah, well, I'm talking about like getting into the idea of this language community where it was more than just like entertainment. Where I was like, I want to watch people talk about like the learning, the ins and outs, that kind of stuff. Found Ollie really early, and Luca and Steve. So really and truly, like the quote unquote pillars of the language community are the ones that I found. I know Evan would show me a bunch of stuff from Steve because he was learning Korean at the time. Before, this was in 2014. He left for Korea in 2014, in August of 2014. He was studying leading up to it. And I remember him being like, "Oh, have you seen this older guy that speaks a bunch of language? They call him like the language grandpa or something." And I was like, "What?"
Oh.
And he showed me Steve, and I was like, "Wow, that's really cool." Because I can remember using the early versions of Link, because he like really impressed. And dude, the early versions of Link were so busted.
Were
like,
they?
I remember
When are we
trying
talking?
to use
What
it.
year?
Right after Evan left, I downloaded Link to create an account, and I created an account to learn Korean on it. And this was and he left in 2014. He was only there for 2 years, so sometime between 2014 and 2016.
This is a friend of yours, right?
Yep. Yeah. He lives in Japan now. He actually just took his N1 exam over there. Yeah, he's one of my best
Come
friends,
on, man.
man.
I'm a normal language learner. I go by the European scale. I don't know any other scale. Help me out here. Come on.
N1 is the highest proficiency level exam that you can take. It's basically, so when you, it's kind of stupid. Like, it's kind of like, it doesn't necessarily mean you can speak. You ever seen the videos of the people who, like, there's a, I can't remember exactly, I'd have to find the video and send it to you, but like, there's a specific example with Koreans, and one person took an English proficiency exam, like a C2 exam or a C1 exam, and failed it like miserably. But they could speak English like you or me. They just didn't know the actual technical grammar.
Uh-huh.
And there was another person who passed it like with flying colors, but could not speak English at all. So it's basically so you can put it on your resumes and stuff, and so they can say, "Oh, you can speak Japanese," even though, you know, doesn't necessarily mean that. Obviously, to pass something like that, you have to be pretty solid, you know, with understanding at least written Japanese or whatever. But yeah, it doesn't necessarily mean that. But anyways, yeah, he's taken that, and he speaks. He got me a lot into languages. He speaks Spanish, and he speaks a little bit of French. He speaks Portuguese very well.
Oh, so he's a big language guy.
He speaks Korean, and he speaks Japanese.
Wow, that's a nice combination.
And you know what he doesn't do?
What?
Make YouTube videos. He's happy with where he's at. He watches media with no subtitles. He plays games in Japanese all the time. Whatever the case, like, doesn't matter. He's fine. So,
but yeah, for me, Moses was not just entertainment. Of course, it was entertainment. It's great entertainment. For me, it was a lot of just motivation. I remember just watching his videos before I would study, or maybe I wasn't so motivated. I would watch a video and I would feel motivated because,
yeah,
you know, when you see him connecting to people, which is the essence of language learning, how can you not feel motivated?
Oh yeah, dude, I love Moses. That's honestly what was kind of cool is he would show you some of his progress and then he would go use it, right? Like, I don't know, it's just kind of cool.
Man, it's crazy to think that it's almost been a year since he passed. For me, that was, I mean, I don't think I've ever been like kind of that affected by, we can call him a celebrity. It's kind of weird to call him a celebrity because, you know, we feel like he's like one of our own, but at the end he became quite known, right? That really hit me.
I wish it didn't happen. I'm really glad that he got the success that he did. He put it, so many people would have quit on YouTube before then. I mean, I can remember that dude, he didn't start blowing up until a few, I mean, this dude
2019. I mean, he had like hundreds of thousands, but I remember 2019 something happened and his channel just exploded.
Blew up. When I started talking to him in 20, well, it have to be after 2015, I guess, when I started doing stuff and getting back into it, because I edited like one or two things for him. Specifically, he went to Cleveland. I remember making a teaser for him going to Cleveland. Let me see if I can find this. Laoshu 55 Cleveland teaser. Yeah, I don't think I'm gonna find that. He's got so many videos.
Oh man. No, he has an insane amount.
But anyway, just doing some stuff, and let me see if I just type in Cleveland. But anyway, you know, he would have, I mean, he kind of like stalled around between 20 and 30,000 subscribers, what feels like forever. And I mean, 10 plus years of him, he started in 2007. I mean, just 10 plus years of him just peddling stuff. And then that blow up at the end to know that he, you know, quote unquote made it. You know what I mean? It's just really sad, man. I don't like it. I don't know anybody who likes it, but I don't like it, man.
Even his friends kind of became part of the Laoshu family. I know, you know, the ones that he always be in his videos. Marcel was one of them. There was like the big guy, I forget his name, but they were all super cool, super nice.
Yeah, one of the guys in his videos had passed away. I know, because somebody kept asking about him in some of his comments, and I don't remember why, but I was like, I remember that guy, because I remember specifically he was in a video. I think trying to learn Bengali with him. And I remember going and looking, and if you Google that guy's name and then like the area they're from, it popped up with like the funeral, and it had a picture of him, and he had passed away.
I saw a recent video where Marcel and family and friends, they went to the cemetery where Moses is buried, and that's there in Akron, and that Akron, Ohio is where he's from. Akron, I lived there 6 years of my life. That's where I went to college. So for me, Akron is, one of these important places in my life. I'm a zip. I'm a zip. Yeah, I'm a zip.
Nice. The only zip I know is Jason Taylor, who played for the Miami Dolphins in the 90s.
There's some others I would have to think, but he's probably one of the most famous one, if not the most famous one. But that was inspiration for me because he's from Ohio, from the same basically the same area, and I saw some like random videos of him leveling up in my library where I wasted so many hours not studying. Unfortunately.
Yeah, man, he did some cool stuff. I really like his stuff.
Right. I mean, he had a lot of cool ideas. He was doing like the Uber Chronicles for a while, and he had some epic ones. Did you ever see the one where I forget, he's like a Greek guy or something like that, but
he spoke a bunch of languages?
They did like 20 languages in the car, and Moses just was like getting his mind blown. He was so excited because he found like his soulmate of languages.
I also really like the one where he's in a store and he talks to that guy. It's another black guy, and he talks. I can't remember what he speaks to him, and then he says something about, I think, Swedish, and that guy's like, "Oh, you speak," and then he started speaking Swedish to Moses.
I saw that one too.
Like, I love those videos. Ruled so much.
He's like, "Oh, you speak Swedish?"
Yeah, and then he started going off, man.
Right, but sometimes you'd feel bad for like the people that he was with, like his friends or whoever was with him, because
they're just like, "We're ready to go, dude."
No, he would just start busting out languages, and people would be impressed, and they're like, What's wrong with you? How come you're not like that guy?" And they're just like, "Oh shoot."
Dude, I have a hard time believing that at no point in any of his videos did he accidentally slip his credit card number in there. He was always paying for stuff on them videos, man.
Yeah, I thought, how much money did this guy spend just to make his videos? And that's another thing, because he had to buy all of this food to make these videos, and he did it for like 10 years. I mean, that was in the negative of profits. Imagine that, how much money he was spending just to be able to have a good reason to talk to these people.
Yeah. Oh, for sure, man. Yeah, it's because you don't want to go in there and
just eat up their time when they're trying to work.
Yeah, that's why, like, anytime I've done that with Ari 2 or 3 times. I've never been in a store with him. Well, I've done it 2 or 3 days, I should say, multiple stores each day, but like, when we were in Arizona and New Mexico, we never went to a store and he didn't buy something. He always spent money. Like, he would talk to them, but then he would always end up buying, whether it be something for his wife or whatever the case may be.
Nice and respectful.
And then when we went to Mexico, even down there, even if it was just a drink or something, like just to try to, like, he wasn't just trying to waste people. Like, he always spends money in the stores. So I think about that, and yeah, Moses did the same thing, and that's cool. It's not just holding them up. Like, obviously, if you talk for 3.5 hours and you're taking time away from customers, like, it's one thing, but like, you're just in there for a couple minutes. Oh man, like in Ari's latest video, he was looking for some Pakistani treats. He learned a little bit of Urdu, and so he was in a store and he was asking. He wanted some like Pakistani sweets, and the guy didn't have any. But he then was just like, "Oh, what do you have?" And then the guy was like, "Oh, we got this, this, and this," and he bought it. And
that's nice. So, it also buys you more time to get some more language practice.
Yeah. Yep.
But another thing I appreciate about Moses is because he was so humble. It's from one thing. I know the common thing to say is he was so humble because he spoke so many languages, but he was so humble in the fact that sometimes in his videos, maybe some people weren't so nice, or they would just like criticize his language abilities, or kind of like not give him, productive things, but say, "Oh, you said that wrong. Oh, it's not like that." And I was surprised how he was able to take things in stride. He was just like, "Oh, okay," very kind of humble and very relaxed about it. When I felt like maybe the energy was not so good going towards him.
The worst thing that I remember hearing in one of his videos, he was in, I want to say Michigan somewhere, and his titles were humble.
That's we
it made you click on the video.
We have to acknowledge that.
But he was in Michigan one time, and I think he was in Michigan. it was right around the time he was learning like Polish, Russian, and that woman was talking to a woman in her store. He was talking to her in Polish or whatever it was, and the woman was like, she was like, "Oh, I've been trying to get," I think it was her sister, so I don't want to misspeak, but she was like, "Oh, I'm trying to get my sister to learn, and she won't learn, and and that's our heritage, and blah blah blah." Because the woman might have been her daughter, because the woman like spoke it natively, and Moses was like, "Oh, blah blah blah," and the woman turns to the woman and she said, "See, he speaks our language, and he's black." And I was
I remember that, yeah.
And then the way that he handled that, just being like, "Oh, I just put the time in. Anybody can," and I was just like, man, like that made me mad, like made me mad for him. And he was just like, "No, man, it's cool. I just you got to study. You just got to put the time in, blah blah." And I was like, man, what a way.
This is what I'm talking about.
Like, just such a good dude.
Yeah, I made that video about him, kind of honoring him, because before he passed, I remember he did a live stream with think Time languages, and I just remember thinking, man, this guy, what an inspiration. This guy's really inspired me. And I made a video kind of talking about my appreciation for him. And he saw that I did it because I sent him, I think, I tagged him in an Instagram story or whatever, and then I sent him a message saying, "Hey, thank you for all the years of inspiration." And he liked the message. I want to think that he did see it, because if someone makes a video about you, I mean, come on, especially a good one. I mean, Polyglot Scammer Guy makes videos about me all the time. I'm not trying to watch them, but if someone says, "Hey, Mark, thanks," I'm gonna check the video out. So I want to think that he watched it. And I'm glad that I could show him that love. Because for me, what inspiration.
I would guarantee he did. He generally, he was very appreciative of the people that supported him. Like, he really, really was.
And for me, it was a sad thing when I realized, basically he just stopped showing up in my YouTube feed. And then I had to remember going, oh, shoot, man, I got to watch some Moses stuff, because, I want to keep him alive in my YouTube feed too. Because he just has such great, wholesome stuff. And I mean, no wonder his stuff blew up eventually.
Yeah. And that's, I like the short videos, but man, I loved Moses's just uncut, raw 90 minutes of just like, I love the journey with him. Like, you were walking down the mall with him, like waiting, who's gonna pop out. Like, I actually love that, man. Like, obviously I like the shorter kind of just fast burst stuff too, but like, man, I have a soft spot for that.
You'd be like one of the friends, walking alongside of him. You see the view from him straight on.
Yep.
And all of a sudden, pop. And
so cool.
When he was able to bust out one language after the other, I mean, it was really cool.
Yeah, man. He was cool. I like him. Moses was a good dude. And inspired. I mean, you could argue that without him, there may or may not be, language community. Like, I'm sure somebody would have came along and done it, but like, Moses is that pillar.
I mean, it was already there, but I mean, for me, he created a whole new lane of what it is to be a language YouTuber. It was a completely new lane that we see lots of people, taken.
Yeah.
Not in a bad way, but he kind of set the foundation for that.
No, absolutely. I agree completely.
His titles weren't humble. That one made me laugh, though, because one of the things that kind of became really funny, I would love that in his videos, for example, you would see like the fans that would create their own titles, and some of those were just so freaking funny.
Yeah, dude. His comment section was amazing.
It was like, black guy walks into Chinese store, blows the heads right off of workers.
Oh my god, man. Or he would always have like, black guy pleases Asian woman with tongue or something. His title game. Nobody has a title game as strong.
I know. Like, people have tried to copy that. It has come nowhere close to that. I mean, his title game is another thing we can talk about, because I mean, without black guy speaks 27 language and blows the heads off of grandma, there wouldn't be all these white guy, does this kind of thing. And but no one can get close to that amazingness of
oh, dude, his
language titles.
His titles were so
phenomenal.
Because there was so much innuendo and like, Like everything imaginable in there, man. He had some good ones. Let's go to his channel. I want to read some of the last ones that he had.
I don't think those ones were that extreme though.
Oh, here we go. Just let me see what the actual full title is. Yeah, okay. So I mean, it starts sketchy, but then it gets all right. Black man walks up on New Jersey Ghanaian worker at night to practice tongue.
It's like in the beginning, honestly, I wasn't a fan of the titles, but then like I just started seeing them so much, I was like, I kind of, saw the humor in it, because
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Black man becomes friends with local Chinese native. Nothing wrong with that.
No, that's a pretty straight up title.
Black man blows Indian's mind back.
Back at the end.
Black man blows the mind off of Indonesian woman. Yeah. These are so good. Yeah, man. I miss it, dude. I miss his video, and I love all the other guys that are doing that stuff. I there's so many guys that do kind of similar to what he did, but Moses
it even seems like
special feel to it.
Absolutely, like for him, like it's a completely different thing, and then you can enjoy everyone else. But Moses just had so many redeeming things, Yeah. Even I've seen some of Matt versus Japan's recent videos. It seems like he's even trying to go down that lane of.
Dude, I actually. It's the first time I've talked to Matt in like 4 or 5 months, but I sent him a message and I said, dude, that last video, it was the one where it was like, what was it called? Something about making a fool of yourself or something, right?
Yeah, he saw some YouTuber in the store and was kind of awkward about it.
White guy embarrasses himself speaking Japanese. Dude, I sent him, I was like, look, I said, this video is incredible, man. I said, the way that you edited it and like just the pacing of it and stuff, and especially because it was like that payoff at the end, like, oh, where was the embarrassment? And then he was like, oh, hey, I have 100,000 subscribers. And
yeah,
like,
I was
okay.
Like,
and he's like, oh my God. And I was like, oh my God, I feel so bad for you.
The woman was like, yeah.
Yeah. I loved it though, man. I mean, I know that that's not really his shtick, but I kind of wish he would do some of that stuff because, I mean, it was cool. He did it really, again, a different way. Like his video felt different from Walter and it felt different from Ari. Like I feel like it just,
right.
Do your own thing, man.
I mean, that's what I'm constantly telling people. If you want to have a language channel, a polyglot channel, then do it because there's room out here for everyone. Everyone can add their own special touch to it. We all can contribute. We're all are unique. And
just don't bend over to the audience. Don't start basing your happiness on whether or not people are leaving nice or negative comments because that. Like I said, man, I think the video I'm gonna make who knows how many parts it'll be, but I think I'm gonna do kind of a whole setup of, and I think it's just gonna be called "Why I Failed Japanese Again," and just talk about. And the thing is, it's my own fault. It's completely my fault. However, it's my fault because of allowing other people. It's not other people's fault, but it's my fault for allowing what other people had to say, like kind of dictate how I was feeling.
For example,
oh man, I did 10 minutes of Duolingo on Japanese last night. What a waste of time, you idiot. Yeah, I probably shouldn't do that anymore. Like, you know what? Like, and it's just, it's kind of one of those things. But I think I'm just going to talk about, and I got into a lot of stuff just to give you a small little thing of things I've been thinking about. I got into this phase where I hated making cards, but every time I would download a pre-made deck, it's just everybody would tell me, you can't use pre-made decks. They're dumb. You can't do that. You have to make your own, right? Well, then I would watch stuff.
Right.
Well, I will say this, and I tweeted about this recently. My Japanese listening is incredible. I don't know what they're saying, but I've listened to so much Japanese. I can hear it so well. Like, I can distinctly determine what a lot of different words are. I don't know what they mean, but I can hear the individual words because I've listened to thousands of hours of Japanese. And actually, I had a moment the other day. I was talking to Tokini. I'm going to get back to the Japanese thing. This relates. I was talking to Tokini Andy, and he had said something, and I sent him a message. I was like, oh, man, I was going to comment this on your post, and then I realized it has multiple different meanings, and I said I didn't want it to come off this way. And he's like, no, it would have fit there. And I was like, also, I don't know how I know this word. I don't remember ever learning this word. I just know it, and I don't know why. And he was like,
Language
"Yep,
acquisition
he was
is
like, that's
an
what
amazing
happens."
process, you know.
Yep. And I was like, "Oh, dang." So I guess all that watching. But anyway, I would just watch stuff and watch stuff and watch stuff and watch stuff and never really I know I made videos about it, right? Where I was like, I gotta be more proactive about doing this. And I would make those videos and I just never
Sure.
was. It was like I was waiting on this magic cure of not having to put forth effort and just watching stuff over and over and over and over and over and finally something sticking. But which obviously did, something did. But
Right.
but it's just, I could have helped myself a lot more. And I find that saying it's difficult is a cop out. Like you either want it or you don't, right? Like
For sure.
saying something is easy or hard, right? Oh man, like Japanese is cool, but you know what? I'm gonna learn. Let me learn. What's like a Swedish, right?
Hmm.
I'm gonna learn Swedish. Oh, Swedish is easy. Is Swedish easy? No. Why is Lamont Swedish so good? It's because he's put in work.
Mm.
Like same reason that match Japanese is good. Obviously, you can learn Japanese. He did. Obviously, you can learn Swedish. Lamont did. The issue is
Hmm.
don't learn what other people are learning. It's going to be easy if it's something that you want. So copping out and being like, well, I'm just going to quit Japanese because it's difficult. I'm talking to myself. Anybody's watching, I'm talking to myself. Like saying that you're going to quit because it's difficult is a cop out. You never wanted to learn it to begin with. Because if it's something that
Right.
you love, it
And
doesn't
for
matter. I can solve, look, I know this is random, but I can solve Rubik's Cubes up to a 9x9. Okay. I can solve
mm-hmm.
up to a 9. I don't like the even numbered cubes. They're a little bit weird, right? And I just don't like them for the 4, 6, and the 8. But 3x3, 5x5, 7x7, 9x9. And honestly, with what I know with those, I could go up to the largest one they make now is a 17x17. And I can solve those. But I had to work on learning that
Absolutely.
stuff.
Absolutely. That's another great message. And this is something that I was just thinking today. Stacy, if she's still watching, then this is related. Of course I know what it's like to learn a language. I know that even when you're pretty good, you can have days that make you feel like you suck, right? So
all the time.
All the time. Now that I'm, getting into Russian, I already knew that was going to happen because objectively speaking, if it happened in my Spanish journey, of course it's going to happen in my Russian journey, which Russian is objectively more difficult than Spanish. So, of course it's kind of hard to go through the moments when you're going through them, but your logical mind knows that this is the process. And we mentioned Shane Godlyman, who has studied Spanish a little over 2 years, achieved really nice results. I'm really, really impressed with his results. And he's taken like the C1 Spanish test, the daily exam this year, and I'm like, that is sweet. And here I am in my like third year Russian, and I'm like, dang, they tell you that Russian is like 3 times harder than the normal Spanish normal romance language thing, and like I can see it, And
no,
we hope that our progress is nice and fast, but not everything's the same. But my main point, what I want to say, is that even though that like I see all my holes in Russian, I see how I'm making all these mistakes, there's actually no doubt in my mind that I won't learn it. I know that I'll learn it because I'm so resilient, perseverant. I have perseverance, and there's not even a doubt in my mind. I know what'll happen because I'm just too focused. I'm too into it. There's no way that like I could let the language beat me. I gotta beat the language.
Yeah. Well,
just because I love it, I want to.
Yeah, and you talking about that. So when I was talking about earlier about difficulty being a cop out, I wasn't saying that there aren't languages that are harder than others. I fully 100% think that. I just think what I meant was, because you saying that like, oh, and I see that Russian's harder than Spanish. It absolutely is. Like as an English speaker, it's only natural. But I think that I think if you were to start Russian and be like, it's hard, let me stop, that's a cop out. Because either you want to or you don't. It doesn't matter how difficult it is. Like, is it more difficult than other stuff? Yeah. Is Japanese more difficult than other stuff? Absolutely. Is Chinese, is whatever it may be, right? There's always something more difficult or less difficult or whatever the case may be. So I don't think that I'm not saying that you can learn Japanese in the same time that you can learn Spanish or anything like that. I'm just saying if you're just like, I don't want to learn it because it's difficult, and you don't want to learn it to begin with.
Right. The way I see it now, yeah, it's kind of tough, but now I'm going about ways to kind of like go at these insufficiencies in my Russian. Like I'm seeing how I can like attack those and improve those. And now you start to see, for example, I start to see the challenges as like you said, like a puzzle, as like a game, something fun. And that's a nice mindset switch where you're not thinking, oh, this language is so hard, but you're like, I want to figure it out. I want to figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
And well, that's just a complete change, and one that's going to keep you going and will help you learn the language.
Yep. Yeah, man, you got to keep going. That's why, like I said, that's why I had to take a sabbatical, was to get back into my own mentality about learning languages, and be able to carry on.
So if anyone wants to ask some questions, John and I'll probably talk a few more minutes if you have some more questions, and we can answer some of those. But if not, we can start wrapping it up pretty soon.
Yep. That's why I just recently changed my Twitter bio, and I thought it was the perfect thing. And it because it doesn't necessarily mean I'm doing it now or doing it in a year, but my Twitter, it just says, failing at Japanese until I don't anymore.
Like, of course.
Because at some point I will get it.
That is actually a really awesome tagline. I really, really like that.
Yep. Failing at Japanese until I'm not anymore. I will fail at it every day until I, which means I'll never finish.
You only fail if you quit.
Yep. I gotta figure it out. Like I said, I think once things get back to normal, or things are kind of back to normal, and being able to enjoy languages for myself, I actually thought about a couple of ways that I could continue having a channel. Is like whatever language I'm studying, whether I continue with Japanese, whatever the case may be, instead of focusing more so on language, I can have my updates, but then I can also just talk about the shows. Look, I'm very new to a lot of anime still. Like, even as a Japanese super fan, I'm still new, right? So if I was learning Japanese, I'll watch Naruto for the first time. You know what I mean? Like, and just I can still talk about what I'm doing without talking about what I'm doing, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Right. I mean, you could always do the language updates. For me, like, you're such a lover of language that I understand why you have this kind of track record of dabbling. And I think you could actually use that to your favor, because you have a great passion for languages, and it's something to share. It's not something to kind of think, be down about yourself. Embrace what you like, embrace what comes to you naturally. That's
what I had somebody like hack my Twitter it's been like a year or two ago, but they were like, oh man, I can't speak Spanish and I can't speak Japanese, and I was like, but who said I could? Like, that's what like your insult towards me makes no sense, because if you ask anybody, I'll be the first person to tell you that I'm a monolingual person. Like, I don't understand. Like, who are you trying to tell? Right. No one who follows me on Twitter thinks that I'm fluent in anything. So who are you trying to tell on my Twitter feed that that I'm pretending to speak like?
They went and got you on Twitter. Twitter is usually like the positive side of language learning.
Yeah. Well, they just hacked. Somebody had hacked into my account.
Oh shoot! I remember that. Someone hacked into your Twitter.
Yeah.
And wrote some bull stuff.
Yeah. But what was funny is it's not that it wasn't even true. It's just like, it was information that everybody already knew. Like, imagine what kind of loser you are to actually do that. I was talking to a friend of mine the other day who's a YouTuber, and she's like, she had to get used to receiving bad comments. They're like, you can't teach it all, but thank God you're pretty. And it's like what a horrible comment, And I saw that Lindy was talking about how she had to block words like big boobs and stuff, and I'm like, who's watching Lindy for language advice and thinking, I got to get this off my chest about her boobs, or about like guys. Some guys are just weird. It's just so dumb. I mean, like, I think Elise said the same thing, where she was getting comments, and she had like a short kind of thing going on, and they had to comment about that. But dude, I don't go, and this makes it sound like I'm trying to be something that I'm not. I don't go, if I go to Lindy's channel, the last thing on my mind is anything like that. I'm like, I need to know what advice, like what can I take out of this video to help me in my journey, right? Same thing with Elise, which she hadn't uploaded in a while either. But I mean, yeah, like that's the lead. Like, there's sites for that.
Right.
Like, go there. You can probably find a story about someone teaching someone a language too, I'm sure. So just go chill out.
Yeah, but basically, the internet is so weird, you know? Now you have guys that are making ridiculous claims about how basically no one in the world speaks any languages. And, you know, if you look to the side, that's like some kind of sign that you're reading some script. You know, I probably did this like a million times, but somehow, you know, what am I reading from a script? But
yeah, I mean, that's what I love about. There's a guy that I watch named Chad Zimmerman. He's of course a Japanese guy. He's not Japanese. He is a Japanese learner. That's what I mean when I say he's a Japanese guy. But he knows Japanese, and that's what people ask him to speak Japanese all the time, and he just said no. Because basically, the way that I take it is, he has no reason to, because he doesn't have to prove it to anybody. Because well, A, that in itself is enough. You don't have to prove anything to anybody. But B, he said, I go to Japan 6 months out of the year. I work in a tattoo shop. I'm a translator. I know what I can do. I don't have to pay. I don't have to tell anybody anything to prove a point. I know what I can do. So he has this Japanese channel, and he talks about resources and all kinds of stuff, but he's never spoken Japanese on it.
Okay. All right.
And that's what he does. And but I really like that, hearing him talk about, I don't owe it to anybody. Like, I really love that, because I think so much of YouTube, and myself included, especially where I was like, oh my God, I gotta, you know, maybe I could study a little bit, but oh man, if I don't have 30 extra minutes of immersion, I'm really going to let people down. Like, you don't owe anybody anything. If they want to watch your stuff, they do. If not, they don't. I mean,
and, you know, I'm going to do this experiments on this channel, and I'm going to live stream, let's say, my Spanish sessions. Right now I'm thinking once a week I'm going to live stream a Russian session once a month. And, you know, you're going to see the trials and tribulations of a language learner. You know, I'm not trying to, like, I'm not here trying to be like, you know, look at me and my mad skills, but I'm trying to literally come up. I'm trying to improve. I'm trying to get better. But, you know, I don't know, it's going to be interesting, because it's going to be open for anybody to see. And that adds a little bit of nerves to it. Hopefully I'll get used to that. You know, it was just like one person started commenting on one of the Russian videos that I did. I think it was like 2.5 years. Yeah, 2.5 years. And you're like, oh yeah, you know, oh yeah, that sucked. And it's like, all right, well, if you think that, that's actually fine, but you know, I literally,
what can I do to improve?
I'm in the trenches. I'm trying to improve.
Yeah.
And you know, I could have chosen some other the video of a class that was actually good, but I'm like, I'm going to film this, and this is the video that's going up. And regardless of how good or bad I did, that's the one that's going up. I could be trying to deceive, and I could have loaded up a good class, but you know, this was just what it was, because I'm not here trying to hide anything. I'm trying to improve and get better. And language learning is a process. And if you don't understand that, you're a little messed up in the head.
Yep. Yeah, man. It is a and that goes back to what I was saying in the beginning, you know, like, people only see what's presented to them. And often, if you like, it's like everybody watches stuff and thinks that everybody thinks exactly like them. So if you have somebody who only learns one language and will only ever learn one language and has no interest in anything else, they see somebody who speaks two, and it's like, why? That's stupid. Let me talk. But it's like, but that might be that person's goal. Or maybe they have family they're learning for. Who cares? Or then you have the person who dabbles a bunch, doesn't know anything, and then they see somebody who learns one language, and they're like, why would you not want to experience the world? Well, because not everybody wants to. Like, everybody's different. And so many people watching YouTube, like I said, just, it's like this idea of, oh, well, that's not how I would do it. Well, then make a channel. I mean, do it. Like, I want to do things the way that I want. Like I said, if I would have applied what I'm currently doing in Mandarin to Japanese, I feel like I would be at an absolute crazy level. Not saying like perfectly fluent, not Matt versus Japan level or anything like that, but my understanding would be amazing, and I feel like I would be able to speak pretty solidly if so. But maybe down the road we'll find out.
Right. Well, you also, I loaded up a video about this from one of my interviews, and one of the most fantastic Russian polyglots, and he said that basically you don't need to just kind of be ashamed to just say, I'm going to stop this language. You don't owe the language anything, because people don't want to feel like they're giving up, that they're losers. But if something's not working, or if your heart's not into it, I mean, what are you going to do?
Yep. I had a video 2 years ago about it being okay to change your mind.
Oh.
Yeah. I sure did.
What advice do I have for someone trying to learn Russian? This would be advice just for anyone, and it's basically for any language, just have your reasons right. Don't go into something for some kind of external thing. Make sure that your reasons are right for getting into that language, whether it's just a genuine curiosity, interest, whatever it may be. Because for me, I learned Spanish because my dad actually was from Mexico. He passed away, and I moved to Mexico, and I lived with my uncle, and he just sent me to study Spanish and things like that. And I had a reason to learn Spanish, having half of my family being Mexican. But for Russian, it was just a curiosity that appeared and never went away. I have no real explanation. Sometimes I try to give it an explanation, but I don't. But it was an interest that always stayed with me. And I knew I would study, and I feel so grateful to be doing it now. So there was that real genuine interest in it. So now that I'm going through all these, these ups and downs, which they're both, of course, I remain positive because I know that I'm seeing this through, and it's going to be a long-term thing. And I'm just happy to take part in it, because every day that I study Russian is a day that I'm living out my dream.
Right.
And that's a beautiful thing, to know that you're living out your dream. You just had something inside you. I'm going to get a little personal for a minute, but in 2015, 2016, I would wonder, why the hell do I want to learn Russian so much? Like, I mean, why is it Russian? And as I started studying, I would think it must be for like some higher purpose. And I'm not going to say that it is for a higher purpose, but in a way, maybe it was there to kind of save me, because in 2020, basically I got broken up with, and it was something that I wasn't expecting at all, and it really broke my heart. And I didn't have anyone. I was living alone. I was very lonely. We're all here trapped up in coronavirus times. So imagine like losing the closest person to you at that time. But it was Russian, my excitement for Russian, that kept me in it day after day, that gave me something to keep moving forward, to be excited about. And like, it really kept my head above the water in these dark times already, then put like one of the worst things, the hardest things I've gone through. And if studying Russian, if that was the only thing that it gave me, Jesus Christ, was it worth it? You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
So,
no, for sure, man. Absolutely. I mean, it makes sense. I think it's definitely a good thing to think about, is what your priorities are. And then that's the other thing too, is it's okay to change, right? Like, with me working from home, where my full-time job is working from home now, I have the opportunity to consume a lot more content. And if you remember, I made that video where I was like, I'm kind of struggling with Japanese because, I just don't watch that much content. I'm consuming more content than I ever have, because I'm here all the time. And so even that, maybe I should learn a language that has more content, right? Chinese is great. It doesn't have as much content. It has a lot of content. Not as much as, Japanese, Spanish, or whatever the case may be, right? Korean. Sure. I mean, it's easier to find. Like, China produces a lot of stuff. You find a lot of stuff from Taiwan, which there's nothing wrong with, but
if you're trying to learn
Putonghua, mainland China, like, you need a little bit, and you can't. It's not like you can VPN. Of course, Netflix doesn't even work with a daggone VPN now, but it's not like
you just told
VPN.
me that, man. That's disappointing.
Yeah, dude. Well, I read a thing about it not too long ago where Netflix said that they were going to try to basically put a stop to it. But I agree with somebody had tweeted on they had tweeted back when I had tweeted that, and they had said, like, basically geolocking subtitles is stupid. And I agree. Just put the subtitle. Like, I feel like it would take more effort to lock that than to just be like, here's Japanese subtitles. If you're in America, sorry. Or if here's Serbian subtitles. If you're in Croatia, so I guess that might be similar. But if you're in South Africa, sorry. You know what I mean? Just put them there. Who cares? Like, why would you geolock subtitles? That was what I noticed. That was why I had a Japanese VPN, is for when I was doing Japanese. Like, I would log in, because if you watched a show in America and it would either A, be dubbed and no audio from Japanese, or it would have Japanese audio but only English subs, and you couldn't have the Japanese subs. Well, when you log into Netflix Japan, the subtitles are there, because why wouldn't it be? It's Japan. Why would you geolock that? Just have it available. It can't take that much money to throw a 4 kilobyte subtitle file on there.
For sure. Ways of the world, God knows.
Yep.
And are you going to do any language study tonight? Now that we're talking.
Yeah, I sure am. I did a little bit of, I did my flashcards earlier. So I've got that out of the way. I'm going to do another lesson or two and carry on. Maybe work on another thing that I've been working on and not talking about. So
for sure.
Enjoying it for myself. So I cannot wait until I'm growing my hair back out. And dude, it's in that, I know that you've had your hair long, so you'll know what I'm talking about. Dude, it's in that bad phase where it's like, you want to cut it because it looks so stupid, but it's like, you got to get past this phase so it can get to the long. I hate it, dude.
I know exactly what you mean. My hair's kind of crazy too.
So bad. I look so dumb. Like I this whole time I've been looking at myself like, God, if I was looking at this dude, I'd think, what an idiot. But I can't, I got to get it past that. Like, it's got to get just a little bit longer. You know what I mean? So I can start. I usually wear a headband. Like, if you'll remember my older videos when I had long hair, I would just have a headband and have it pop back.
Yeah, I remember that.
It's not quite long enough there, but. Anyway, sorry, that's just a random thought. Figured if anybody made it this far in and they're like, man, your hair looks stupid, that's why. It's because I'm growing it out and it's in that weird part where it just sucks.
When was the last time you didn't have a beard?
So I fully shaved for one of my niece's birthday parties one time. Hold on, I can find it real quick. Just as a joke. Just because I wanted to freak everybody out, but that was the last time, and it's very few and far between. Like, I don't do it a lot because okay, hit the wrong button there. Because I have such a fat face, like it's just hard for me to do. Here we go. Where's photos at? I need photos. God, Facebook changes crap all the time, and I can never find anything. There we go. Uploads. This might take me a minute. Let me see if I can find it real quick before. Let's see. Close, probably. They're super long hair, me, so. Trying to spot check. I may have passed it already, so I mean it's hard to tell. Okay, definitely passed it because there's no, not okay. Hang on. Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't. I can probably find it. Maybe it's under photos of me. Maybe it's not one that I uploaded. But anyway.
Any final words for those listening? Any parting wisdom from Mr. Speaks?
Man, just kind of hang out and have fun, and don't take anything too serious, and just have fun, right? Like, don't hang on. I found it. I was just trying to clip it to where like my nieces and stuff weren't in the background. Here you go, man.
Oh my gosh! Wow, my mind has just been blown by a white man without beard.
Yeah. Yeah, dude. So that's it. There you go.
Wow. And what year was that?
That picture is from. This picture was uploaded July 30th of 2014.
Oh wow.
So.
Just a young buck.
Mm-hmm.
All
Yep.
right, then.
So,
Super
but yeah,
cool to
just
catch up
do.
with you after all this time, man. It was
Yeah,
not all this time. We're always talking, but at least face to face.
Yeah, man. Should do it again. Thanks for doing that. And I guess I'm gonna run in here and put the old child to bed. We still put him to bed around 7:30 or 8. So since the day he was born, man.
We'll teach him a little Chinese. Give him a couple words to work with.
Yeah.
Some useful stuff.
Yep.
All right, then we'll end
Absolutely.
it. We'll end it here. Thanks, guys, for
All right.
watching. We'll see you
Yeah,
next
thanks.
time, and stay on your come up.